Welcome, everybody. A walk-up song, I guess. Anyway, it's great to be with you all. My name is David Gerber, and I was here last year. How many of you were here last year? That's a handful. There's them high. I got to see who's here last year. Okay. How many of you that were here last year followed through on everything we talked about? Nobody? Was it not? No. So that's why we're back. So we're going to do the exact same thing and see if you get it this time. No, we're going to do something a little bit different, somewhat similar. I'll share some stories about lions because I really love lions. How many of you like lions? Raise your hand. Yeah, let's go. Good for the lions. What's funny is I said this last year. I don't typically like cats. How many of you don't like cats? Right? But then I like lions, and then somebody at one point told me that they're cats. And I was so shocked because I didn't put those two things together. My brain doesn't always work that way. And so I'm excited to be with you. I want to introduce a couple of people. So in the back, say hi to Tim. Hi, Tim. So Tim is a coach at our firm. He was here last year as well. And I always like to say he's a former brigadier general in the U.S. Air Force. So yeah, let's give him a round of applause. And he also was president of King's College in New York City. And then he joined our firm year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And so, yeah, we started like 10 years ago as a firm with 6 coaches, and now we're at about 70, and we have just amazing people joining us. And then say hi to CJ. Hi, CJ. CJ, where do you live these days? I feel like you move from time to time. Fort Collins. He lives up in Fort Collins. He's one of my dearest friends in the Colorado area and one of our best coaches as well. So if you have questions about coaching, afterwards I'll be around, but the two of them will be around as well, and they can answer anything that you want to know about all things coaching. All right, favorite coffee orders. How many people like PSLs? Let's go. Oh, don't get shy on me now, guys. Yeah, okay, there we go. I got one. Nobody said pumpkin spice latte? I don't believe. Okay. Don't be shy. Who feels like they have the most complicated coffee order? Who has come on, somebody here. Who was it? He got up and left because he knew this was coming. Lemon in the coffee? Okay, well, all right. Well, I thought you guys would be more exciting with the coffee orders. Nobody's got a complicated coffee order? No. Pat? Cold foam, no cup, skinny, breve, all the things. All right, well, that didn't land quite as well as I thought it would. What's so funny? I missed a joke. No cup. I didn't even catch it. Just straight in there. So, as you can tell, this is going to be highly interactive. I like to do things interactively because I want to get inside of your brains. And so I'm going to tell a story or two, but most of this is going to be you actually doing some work because we like to use the metaphor of a gymnasium. So if I'm a personal trainer and then you show up and watch me work out, how much stronger do you get? 0. Thank you. Who said that? Gosh, I cannot hear today. So 0, right? So the idea is we want to put the weights out, put out the tools for you, and let you lift the weights throughout the evening so that you get the most value from it, and that's what we're here for. And so similarly with a personal trainer is if a personal trainer never disrupts you, how good is the workout going to be most likely? Average. Yeah, average. Right? So the personal trainer is there to disrupt you when you think, I want to quit. What are they going to tell you? Keep going. And so there'll be an opportunity when we're interactive where I'll do as much coaching as you want me to do. I love doing coaching in rooms like this. It's so much fun for me. And I like to ask really deep questions. And so if there's a question that I ask you, if you are courageous and raise your hand and say, hey, you want some help with something, and then I ask you a question you don't want to answer, you can say, I don't want to answer that. And that's totally fine, by the way. And I promise I won't go super deep because it's like a big room and I don't want to scare anybody. But I'll ask you some lighter questions, and then if you want to keep going, we can kind of go deeper. So we'll do that. I just want you to know what's coming. So I want to give you another chance to talk amongst your tables, but I want you to write a few things down first. So what I want you to write down is I want you to think about your life and write down 3 moments where you remember being really proud of yourself. So 3 moments where you remember being really proud of yourself. And I'll give you a minute or two of Matt to play a little bit of background music. So write down, I'll give you a couple minutes, and then I'll have you share with your tables what are 3 moments where you remember being really proud of yourself. All right, ready, set, go. All right. I love you guys' energy. So bring it back. I love this. All right. You guys are great at building community, so go ahead and wind it down. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. 3 times? All right, there we go. So who would be courageous enough to share that out loud? Like, what's a moment that you were really proud of yourself from some time in your life? Yeah. Last night, all right.
I cooked the best new recipe, and my mom gave it the seal of approval.
Okay.
It was great.
What was it, though?
So it was curry chicken with sweet potato, collard greens, and black eyed peas.
Yes. All right. You're going to start a catering business when you get out of here.
One of mine was a career pivot.
Career pivot. Can you share from what to what?
So all of my background is in juvenile justice, and
Yeah.
I now work for a workday deployment.
I love it. Very cool. Awesome. A couple more. Proud moments. Yeah.
When I forgave everything of my past.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, we can clap for that. Let's go. I like that. Thanks for doing that, Emma. How about over here? Proud moments. Yeah.
I threw away a bunch of crystals last year.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
When I left a bad work situation, 9 to 5, to start a business.
Okay, very cool. And what can you share what the business is?
Yeah, I'm a coach for Christian women.
Nice. I love that. Awesome. Very cool. All right. So what I want you to think about as you look at the things that you wrote down is I want you to think about if you were to put those in a category of those moments happened because of life was easy, like it was easy to do those things, or was it difficult or challenging? Which category would you put those in? Like challenging, right? And so what I want you to consider is that so often in life, we tend to think that we want ease and comfort. But what we really want and we long for is what's really difficult and what's challenging. Similar to a workout, if a workout's super easy, then it usually doesn't create the results that you want. But if it is a challenging workout, it's going to create the results that you want. And so part of what I want to sow into you tonight and want you to realize is that what you want your 2026 to look like is you don't want it to look easy. But your brain might tell you or might lie to you and think, oh, I just want this thing to be easy. And a lot of the people that we coach, sometimes they get all this success and they get all this money or whatever it is, and then guess what happens? They stop growing. Yeah. What else? They get bored. Yeah, you get really bored because the thing that got them the success, which was all the challenge, then they went and had this easy life, and they're on beaches and cruises and whatever, sipping margaritas, and they're bored out of their minds. And this is one of the biggest challenges that professional athletes that we coach have when they exit the game that they play, is they don't know what to do with their life post their career in sports, because most professional athletes retire in 35 to 40 year age, which is they're just starting a whole second career of their life. And so I want to share with you a story about one of my proudest moments, a bit as a source of inspiration, and I hope that the story scares you slightly, but hopefully inspires you more than anything. And I want to set up the story. So a bit of my background is I do this thing, if you remember last year, I do a thing called lion tracking. Now I distinguish that it's not lion hunting, there's no shooting happening, but I like to get out on foot in Africa and out of the vehicles, away from fences, completely in the wild, and literally walk around and look for lions with trained guides and trackers. Okay? And so most people go, why would you want to do that? And I'm going to show you a video that's going to show you why you'll either, after you watch the video, you either really want to go with me, or you will think I'm even stupider. And so we'll figure that out. So as I set this up, it's one of my proudest moments, and I want to backtrack because it started with this idea of challenge. So 6 months before the video clip I'm going to show you, I had this moment where I had realized that so much of my life I had been societally conditioned to be quite tame, like T-A-M-E, right? How many of you have like felt that at all, like within you, like, gosh, like sometimes I feel like I'm not living the adventurous, wild life that seems to be inside of me, right? Okay, and so, and I went through like a really challenging time in my life 5 years ago. Went through a really, really deep depression. And I'm just like very transparent, so like, bear with me. But like I went through like 6 to 12 months of suicidal ideation. Okay, and that was about 5 years before the clip that I'm going to show you. And so I'm going to show you this clip because I want you to be able to connect with yourself in the sense of aliveness that I think you're capable of feeling beyond what you've been societally conditioned to be. And I want to see what starts to resonate with you. And throughout the night, we're going to start to parse apart the breadcrumbs towards what aliveness could feel like for you. And it may have nothing to do with lions, and I'm suspecting it won't. But I hope few of you it will. So if you can put up the map, Matt. So I want to set this clip up because if you don't have the context, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So the camp that I stay in when I'm in South Africa, so this is Kruger National Park, and it's way bigger than this. And this is literally just wild wilderness. No fences. It's just literally trees, and you can see different terrains. But from here to here, this is where we found the lions. It's about 2 miles. And when you're tracking wild lions, what you're looking for is what you call a first track. And a first track is essentially when you find a paw print in the ground, usually it's in the dirt, but there's also other kinds of first tracks, such as you hear some sort of sound. And so what we heard is, so we started tracking, we went across this, there's a dried riverbed here. We went across this dried riverbed, and about here, so still about 2 miles away, we hear this sound. And it's the sound of this deep guttural, like lion growl, which is a form of a first track because you have a direction, because otherwise we're just wandering around this area because there's a lot of lion activity there, and we're looking for a track in the dirt, and then you hear something, and you're like, sweet, we've got a direction. And in that moment, like everything in me lights up, right? And how many of you have had things in your life that like when you do them, something in you lights up that's like not intellectual, it's like more of like a physical sensation. Does that track with you? Is that making sense? Does anybody have something they could shout out that like when they do that, they come alive? Yeah, what is it? Cooking? Teaching swimming. That's awesome, right? What else? Like I know Matt, when he's DJing, he's like coming alive. Sorry, there's room for all the DJs, right? And I was talking to Natalie before. It's okay if I share, but like she has a business making organic smoothies and juices and stuff like that. And so like I hope that you come alive doing that. Love it, right? Okay, so you can like feel it. Okay, and so we hear that sound, and I think the sound is like 300 to 400 yards away. That's my guess. It was 2 miles, and that's how far a lion's growl travels when they're like growling. So then go to the next one, Matt, real quick. So then I zoomed in on that same spot, and just to kind of give you as much as you can of an idea, so we're walking through this stuff, and at one point as we were walking towards that sound, like every few minutes you would hear that sound, and the guides that I was with, they can tell you kind of what's happening, and their sense was that the lions are actually on some sort of a kill, because when they're on a kill, they just turn into like rabid lions, and they're eating, and they're always kind of like jockeying for position on whatever animal they're eating. Is that too graphic? No, okay, we're good. Okay. So we're walking close here, and as we get to like I would say about 100 yards away. We're walking here, and we see a lioness. So lions like eat, and then they gorge themselves. Like a lion can eat like 50 pounds of meat in one sitting. It's a lot. So and so they'll eat a bunch, and then they go walk off, and they take a nap, and then they come back, and then eat more. So we're walking in here, and the sound's coming from here, and then this lioness walks off to our right at like 50 yards, and I'm like starting to get a little bit nervous because like there's lions ahead of us. Now there's a lion to our right. And I'm like talking to Renius, who's the main tracker, and I'm like, hey, like, there's a lion over there, and we're walking this way, and like they're surrounding us. And he's like, we're fine. We take a few more steps, and the lioness gets up and walks off to our left, and now I'm thinking, they're flanking us. Like they're hunting us, right? Which I learned later on that's not what lions actually don't do that with humans. They don't actually hunt you, most time. So there's always like exceptions to the rule, right? So the guides, the tracker, totally were fine. So we keep walking, and so now we're walking towards 3 or 4 lions on a kill, and there's a lioness on either side of us, and so I'm like pretty much super alive and super afraid at the same time, which is where I want you to be in your life. Is I want you to experience the beautiful like helix. Is helix? Is that the right word? Helix? Who knows like DNA? Helix, the beautiful helix of like fear and aliveness. Okay? All right. So I'm going to play this clip. Don't play it yet, Matt. So I'm going to play this clip. You're not going to see what you think you're not going to see any lions, but you're going to hear them. And I want you to feel what it feels like to hear lions. And you'll notice, go ahead, Matt, like just pull it up, but don't start it. Or just, you can, yeah. So this, you can see how dense it is when you get down on the ground. So like the lions at this point are about 40 or 50 yards from us. Can't see them at all. So we're just like walking. All right, go ahead, Matt. We're like trying to find them. So I grab Renius' arm because I am beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so how's that? Right? So I've never felt so alive that I did in that moment. Right? So I was like coming alive because that sound of that energy, I didn't know it did something to me. Kind of like what cooking and teaching swimming and starting a business for organic juices and DJing like do for you. It sends a shockwave through you where it's like undeniable in your body. And I really think that God gave us these bodies in some ways to channel that feeling, because you know that feeling at a concert. You know that feeling when you're playing that sport. You feel it throughout your whole body. It's not just neck up. You with me on that? Right? So you're tracking that. So then when I'm out there, so on this particular trip, I was there by myself. I had made a decision to go there. I went and did 30 days back in 2024 where I just did that for 30 days straight. And it was like the best trip I've ever done and one of my proudest moments. And then last year I decided I wanted to like take people with me. And so I built trips where I could take people tracking. And I want to tell you one story quick, and then we're going to get into like your world. So there was a client of mine who decided to go. He's a guy in Dallas, and he has 3 kids. And he's married as well. So he's married, 3 kids, and he had made the decision to come over to Africa to go track lions with me. And he was a little bit nervous because, as you can imagine, it's perceptibly dangerous. What's funny is, in that moment, like we're not in danger, which is so weird because the lion's not growling at us. It's growling at other lions because the male probably got up, walked away to get some water, and then he came back. And the sound you heard was him coming back to the kill being like, everybody else get out of here, it's mine now. That was the sound you heard. So they're not coming for us. They're not growling at us. They're just doing their thing. And so this guy, Luke, comes with me, decides to come over. And the night before he left Dallas to fly over to Africa, he texts me and he's like, man, this is so hard. Like, I'm leaving my family. I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm like, trust me, we're going to be safe. I got you. The tracker and guides are like, great. And he says, and I was like, hey, how's like the last night with the family? And he said, there's this beautiful moment we just had. And he's like, I was sitting down with my kids, and my kids were asking me, hey, Dad, why do you have to go? Like, why do you have to go do this thing? Like, whatever it is. Because they're just like, Dad's going to leave for 8 days. And he sent me this text back, and I was like in tears because he said he didn't know how to respond to them at first. And then he said to them, what came to him authentically was, hey, kids, you know how Daddy's often telling you that you need to be brave? And he said, sometimes Dad has to be brave too. And so then he gets on a flight, and 3 days later, we have a moment similar to this. And I remember Luke like looks over at me, and he like whispers to me. And he goes, I get it. Like, I get it. I get the energy, that feel in my body that I've like been longing for since I was a child. Like, I felt it. And so what I desperately want you to walk out of here in an hour with is some sense of breadcrumbs towards those feelings in your life, of those things that you cannot, that it's like undeniably in your body, that you're like, I gotta follow this thing. And I don't know what that is for you. And I'm not saying quit your 9 to 5. I'm not saying that at all. If you want to, that's great. But like, maybe you create a path, an off-ramp to that. So as you're writing out your goals today, what I really want you thinking about is to write down the things that feel irrational to a degree. You can write down some goals with your 9 to 5 or whatever you're up to, but I also want you to write down some ridiculously irrational things as well, because I believe in a big God, and I believe that there's things that are in your heart that you want, okay? So, all right. Let's go to the intuitive fence. So those of you who heard last year, you're familiar with this. You may or may not remember it. Either way is fine. And so I'm just going to set this up, and I'm going to let you do some work. So the whole idea of the intuitive fence is that this initial fence here is based on what we call a thing called somatic markers. So somatic markers are essentially what tell you, what you think is possible for your life or not. Right? So for some of you, if I said, hey, do you think it's possible for you to go run a mile right now? You'd say, yeah, I could go run a mile. And if I said 2, 3, 4, 10, 50, 100, at some point, your somatic marker in your brain is going to go, I don't think I could do that. And it goes for anything that you're up to, right? So if you're starting off a business, like what seems possible is to make $100 with your business, or 1,000, or 10,000. And then if I said, could you make 100,000 this year? Could you make $1 million? At some point, your brain's like, I don't think I could do that this year, or next year, or whatever it is. And so what we want to hunt for in this exercise is I want you really playing with that fence of what you think is inside the fence and what you think is outside the fence. And we're going to play with that. So what I want you to start with is I want you to just simply write down, I'm going to give you probably 7 or 8 minutes to do this, so you have a lot of time to do this. I want you to write down what are 10 things that you'd like to be true about your life on December 31st of this year. So that can be goals that you have. Like it might be like, I want to run a marathon. It might be I want to boost my salary 20%. It might be I want to be married. It might be I want to have kids. It might be I want to buy a house. It might be I want to travel to France. I don't know what it is. But the reason I chose 10 was because a lot of times like the first 2 or 3 come easy, and then you hit a part where it's like, I don't know what now, and then you get going again, and so it can be anything that you want to be true about your life sometime in the next 12 months. And we're going to give you a good amount of time to do this. And when it comes to the fence, you've got the card that you can see that on. I want you to think about when you write things down, at first, just get them out on paper, but then start to play with, like, where does that live on my fence? Does it live as being super possible, super impossible, or somewhere on the edge? And we want to play with this. How do we find the edge of your fence? Okay? So 7 or 8 minutes we're going to give you for that. You're going to have plenty of time, and then we'll come back and talk through that, and I'll give you a chance to interact with me if you want to on it. So 10 things you'd love to be true in the next 12 months. Ready, set, go. All right. Bring it back in. I'll make you do the clap thing again. Did you hear me clap once? Did you hear me clap twice? Did you hear me clap 3 times? All right, I hate doing that, but it works. Okay, so how was that? Just talk to me a little bit. How was that experience so far? Pretty great. Okay, great. Started off challenging. Yeah. Overwhelming? Yeah, great. Okay, so you're feeling some of the overwhelm, which is part of what I want you to do, right? Similar to a workout, we use a lot of gym metaphors, obviously, but like similar to working out, like it's good when a workout overwhelms you sometimes, because you're like, that's what's going to really build likely the body that you want. So I'm going to have, Matt, can you put the next slide up? So for me, this idea that life is so paradoxical because we oftentimes are afraid of going outside of our intuitive fences when we should be afraid of staying in them, right? Because what I talked about earlier was if you could, another word you can sort of use for intuitive fence is like your comfort zone. And so if I told you you're going to live the rest of your life and you're never going to go outside your comfort zone, how exciting do you think your life's going to be? Yeah, like boring, right? And so I want to invite you into this idea of what's it like to start to push your fence. And so I was talking with somebody during one of the breaks, and she said, what if I think everything in my life is possible? Like I'm the big dreamer. I can do anything. So one of the best things I like to do then is shorten time frames. So I said, hey, give me an example of one of yours. She said, I want to become a millionaire this year. I said, great. Do you think you can do that? And she's like, yes. I'm like, that's awesome. And then I said, could you do it by July 1st? And she said, no. It's like, great, we found your fence. right? So one way to go back to the intuitive fence, Matt, please. So for her, what's possible is millionaire this year. What's out here somewhere is millionaire by July 1st, and then way out here would be like a millionaire by February 1st. You tracking that? So what I'm going to give you some time to do is I want you to start to play with your fence. So I want you to pick 2 or 3 of the things that you have written down, and just for fun, I want you to write something down that is so irrational and absurd, right? So for example, I'm writing a book right now. It's coming out in April. And, if you know anything about writing books, most times your first book, you can't even sell like 100 copies, right? Because you don't have a platform. Nobody cares. There's a lot of books out there. So for me, like most possible, sell the book to my mom, right? Give me $25, Mom. She'll buy the book, right? Awesome. My mom's going to like the book even if it sucks. Okay, and then we start moving out here. It's like, okay, and then outside of this is like, okay, if it's sold 1,000 copies, that feels impossible. And then if I go way out here and I'm out in like Mars with Elon Musk, it's like sell 1 million copies, which is just ridiculous, okay? So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you some more time, pick 2 or 3 of the things on. I mean, if you want to do it with more, that's fine. But for time's sake, pick 2 or 3 and start here, right? And that might be collapsing a time frame. So it might be I want to be a millionaire by March 1st, ridiculous. Or it might be I want to, lose 10 pounds, or I don't know what it is for you. Sometimes that's not healthy, so like I'm not giving physical advice, okay? I'm not a doctor. So take a couple of them and pick something way out here, and then start to find out like where is the fence, right? So with the person about becoming a millionaire, by July 1st feels impossible. Then I'm going to say, okay, so August 1st, September 1st, you're going to find the fence. And the way you find the fence is when you're like, ooh, you start to kind of feel it in your body a bit of like, that still feels impossible. Okay? All right. Any questions about what I'm asking you to do right now? Pick 2 or 3 things on your list. Push them way the heck outside the fence just for fun. Write down some irrational, ridiculous stuff. Then I'm going to have you share that with a neighbor because I want you to feel what it's like to say how ridiculous something is. Like for me to say I'm going to sell 1 million copies of my book is just, it's heretical in the book publishing industry. Okay, and then find out where that fence is. All right, ready, set, go. All right. Go ahead and bring it back. Bring it on back. Okay. All right, so how was it? I want to hear a bit about how it was, and then what I really want to transition into for the last 30 minutes or so is a lot of understanding because you wrote these things down, and then you've written stuff that you think's outside of your fence. Just out of curiosity, how many of you in here at some point in your life did something that was previously outside your fence? Raise your hand. Raise them high. Okay? So how many of you have done something at some point that felt impossible? So it was outside your fence, and now it's inside your fence because you did it. Okay? So what does that tell you about your brain's capacity to estimate what you're capable of? Yeah, it's bad. It's not very accurate because at least once, and most people when I ask them that, they're like, oh, I've done it like 10, 20, 30 times. They're like, I've gone outside my fence so many times. Great. That's what we're here for, is to keep stretching the fence. Because your fence, and the reason the dotted lines are on here is the idea is that your fence has the capacity to grow. So if you thought you couldn't do a marathon before, and that was outside your fence, and then you do it, now your fence expands. You're like, wow, that's wild. And then your brain starts to short circuit and wonder, what am I actually capable of? And that's what we want it to start doing. That's how the brain is actually designed. So inevitably, when you start to write things down, you come up against what we call blocks, okay? Now, those blocks are designed, and it's like a point of how your brain functions. So go ahead and put the next quote up, Matt, for me. So there's this quote that I love. It says that life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal to you where you're not yet free. Life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal to you where you're not yet free. So what we've just started to induce, most likely, is a bunch of what we call limiting beliefs. And you probably heard that because it's on every Instagram influencer's thing and coach and whatever, right? This idea of limiting beliefs. And that is, when you start to push your fence, all of a sudden your brain starts to come up with all the reasons why that's not possible. It's like, why can't you become a millionaire by July 1st, right? And I don't care whether that's true or not. What I care about is why does your brain tell you you can't do that? Because there's some people in the world right now that literally became a millionaire in the time I've been standing up here. Somehow, right? And so, obviously it's not all about money, but it's just a thing, right? So what I want us to think about is this idea that those things are actually coming into your life, those limiting beliefs. Oftentimes we think that those limiting beliefs are trying to keep us down. I actually think that they're a portal to your greatest freedom. So oftentimes we think that the limiting beliefs, so when you look at the things that you pushed into the impossible and you think, why is that not possible? What comes up? Like what are some of the limiting beliefs that come up when you put down the thing that feels impossible? Like time. Can you give me a more specific example of one of yours?
Yeah, mine was make a full-fledged documentary about my aunt.
Yeah.
It just comes down to time.
So he wants to make a full-fledged documentary about his aunt, and it's like, okay, how do I carve enough time? I don't have enough time to work on it, right? So then the idea is your brain makes up this idea that I don't have enough time. Now, how do I know that that's a lie? Okay, because people make documentaries. Great. Okay. Yep. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, right? So, and she's not wrong, right, in a fun way, right? If I could get a computation of how much time you all spend on social media and put it up here, like we're at Orange Theory. Anybody go to Orange Theory? That is the worst thing, where it's where we're giving everybody heart attacks trying to win, right? But if I put it up here, we'd all probably have a little bit of oh gosh, in the last week I've been on Instagram 10 hours, right? So that might be a reason. Okay, how else might that be a lie? You can make it in 30 seconds, Yep. Yep, what else? Okay, people make time for what they want. Yep, great. What else? Yeah. Yeah, we get creative, kind of with the prioritization thing, right? When it matters to you enough. The other thing I would say is if I told Brian, hey, I'll give you $100,000 if you can get that done in the next 90 days, what happens to your time all of a sudden? It frees up, right? So how many of you, and if you're honest, the reason that you think you can't do the thing that you thought you couldn't do that you wrote down, time has to do with it. Like I don't have enough time, I need more time, I need a longer timeline, whatever it is. Again, I'm not concerned with whether it's right or not. I'm just playing, we're just messing with your fence. Okay? What else? What else would you all come up with in terms of what starts to come up in terms of those limiting beliefs? Because I want you to see how that limiting belief is actually a portal to your freedom. What else? Yeah. Money. Great. Time and money. I love it. Okay. How do I know that that's a lie?
People probably spend more rationally, on a day-to-day basis, and probably could save more if they cared about it.
Yeah, potentially, yes. Yeah. And one of the things I've heard is that an organization or a person almost never has a money problem. They typically have a vision problem. Because the moment that the vision's powerful enough, all of a sudden, money finds its way to you. You with me? Yeah? And so if I was coaching, what's your name? Carrie. If I was coaching Carrie, I would say we need to get your vision to be more electric, right? Because that's what's going to the money's going to find its way to you, right? Now, also, so then how might the time or money limiting belief, I know we're saying quite vague here, but how might those be a portal to greater freedom for you? How might it? Oh. Yeah, was that? Yes, you notice, right? It reveals what is a potential blockage to what you think is possible, and then causes you to have to go deeper and dig a bit deeper into what matters to you. And then you get to decide, like, does Instagram matter as much? Does Netflix matter as much as this documentary or this business or asking investors for money, right? And sometimes the idea that like money is the issue is actually like a shadow limiting belief for I'm actually just afraid to ask for investors' money, right? Now, how is that a portal to your freedom? How is the idea, like, just to take this for example, like if I was going to try to raise money to start a business, how is my fear of rejection a portal to my freedom? How might it be? Yeah.
Then you know what the barrier is more practically that you need to overcome to get to the thing you want.
Yeah, so it's like it's revealing fears, right? Because I have all these fears about what rejection means that are stopping me from potentially everything I want in my life. Because I think like, oh, if somebody says no to me, that means my idea sucks, or that means I'm a terrible human, or that means whatever. Yeah. Tyler.
It's not fear of rejection of asking investors and like more of like giving away your company.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we'll answer that one today. But yeah, I mean, let me play with that for a second. So like a fear of giving away your company. So there's all kinds of ways you can structure it, right? And I don't know a ton about venture capital, but like there's lots of ways you can structure it where you don't give away the company, right? Now you're going to have to ask more people because most people want part of the company if they're going to give you money, right? So you got to get really creative, right? So the portal to freedom is it's forcing you to push your creativity. Like it's like you got to get more creative. So you got to talk to more investors and figure out like, hey, I don't want to get the company up, but I want to get money. What can I do? Because it does happen. People are finding creative ways to do everything all the time. Okay, yeah.
I do think it's fear of rejection first, but then the next layer, I feel like this has happened to me, is insecurity that maybe your product or business isn't good enough.
Yeah.
So you are embarrassed or afraid to bring it to someone because you're afraid to get rejected, but because you're getting rejected because it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And you might want to give up on the idea altogether.
Yeah, and how could that whole thing be that like portal to freedom?
I mean, like for me, like it encourages me to like make the product better and work harder and make it something that I'm proud of that I want to bring
Yeah.
to investors. So
Yeah, so it keeps causing you to like dig deeper, right? And when you dig deeper, it's like doing a heavier workout, right? You get better results. And so if it was just easy and you go out there and just make a company and make $1 million, right? Everybody be doing it, right? But it doesn't really call you to go deeper. And then what we're after here is like what pulls, like I said, the breadcrumbs to aliveness is those moments where my client Luke looked at me and said, I get it. Those moments don't happen with easy workouts. Those moments don't happen with just like an easy life. You don't get it. It has to be something that's challenging in order to experience that. Okay. So go to the next slide, Matt. So I want to frame this a bit, just what we're talking about, because I want to frame it up. So as I've been writing my book, I've been like studying storytelling a lot and trying to refine that craft. And there is like so many books on storytelling, and it's so confusing. And not so confusing, but it can be a lot, right? There'd be like 12 steps to write a story. It's like, my gosh. And really what every story boils down to, if you think about any Pixar movie or any movie you love, every movie, if it doesn't have these 3 components, you will not be bought in. Right? So you've got to have a deep desire, which is like the whole idea of why we're doing the intuitive fence thing, is to figure out what lights you up, what starts to light you up, what are the breadcrumbs to aliveness. Then inevitably you will run into obstacles. And if you don't run into obstacles, it's not big enough. If you can, whatever you wrote down, if you can accomplish it completely by yourself, it is not big enough. We were made for community. That's why this is here. That's why the Brook exists. But if you can do something on your own, I would encourage you to make it bigger. That forces you not only to reinvent yourself to hit it, but also to get other people involved. And you have a lot more fun because it gets really lonely out there. Okay? So, and then the transformation is why you watch the movie. Is a great movie sets it up, and they create some sort of character development. They get you bought into the character. They help you figure out what the character wants. And then they introduce all kinds of obstacles. So if you think of superhero movies, it's like they want to save the world, and then there's villains, right? And if it's Finding Nemo, what's the desire? What's that? It's Finding Nemo, right? Okay, so like, it's like, and then what's the obstacle? What's the main obstacles in Finding Nemo? I'm in a fish tank. What? Yeah, the girl tank, right? So like it's like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. In any great sports movie like Hoosiers or Remember the Titans or I don't know, what's the like? Is there any recent ones in the last 10 years like sports movies? Coach Carter. I was probably still like, right? There has to be a moment where the team that you want to root for to win is about to lose. And otherwise you're just like bored, right? So, and then the transformation comes in when you see the main characters actually have to work through the obstacles. So similar to life, the idea that life's paradoxical is that we are designed to go outside of our comfort zones, not to stay in it. And then to find ourselves in the midst of that. Okay? So, what I want you to do is take a couple of minutes, and I really want you to spend some time writing down what are the main limiting beliefs, what other blocks are coming up for you. And I want you to just get really connected with that because part of it's actually identifying what's really stopping you. Like, what are those blocks? Because if you're going to break through them, we got to identify them. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to write down. So pick those 3 that you worked on already and just write down a few blocks for each one. And there's no right and wrong here, right? Sometimes it literally is like, I don't think I have the time. I don't think I have the money, right? That's okay. And then we can work through those things together, okay? So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Ready, set, go. Okay, all right, we got 10 more minutes left, so hang with me. So come on back. And I'd love to talk about what blocks are coming up. So what do you notice? What do you notice? What blocks, like who wants to play a little bit? We've got a few minutes to play around. Who feels like they have a block that's stuck or like this is just a block and it's what it is? Yeah, go for it.
Starting a business, I have major imposter syndrome because I'm trying to act like an expert for my clients, but in my brain I'm like, this is my first, this or my first that. So I feel like I'm an imposter, and I think that shows, and so I feel like that stops me from trying, like moving forward because I don't think I really know.
Okay, great. So I'm going to say a quote, and then I want to mess with this, right? So the quote is that you are never a victim of circumstance. You can only ever be a victim of your own perspective. So you're never a victim of circumstance. You can only be a victim of your own perspective. So, and what's your name? Morgan, okay. So are you cool if we how many of you have ever felt imposter syndrome? Okay, great. Woo, we got one. All right. So what is the lie about imposter syndrome? Okay. Okay. Well, so here's what I think, right? Anybody have any guesses? Like, what makes imposter syndrome a lie? Yeah, it's your own perspective. It's your own thoughts, right? And then if you go a layer deeper, you have a belief that imposter syndrome is a bad thing. That is what's garbage to me. Because the idea is like, imagine if another moment in your life, you never experience imposter syndrome. What kind of life would you live? Like, think about it, right? Which means you never, because the moment you leave your comfort zone or your intuitive fence, what should you feel? You should feel imposter syndrome. The moment you take a step outside that, the moment that I said, I want to go on a 30-day lion tracking sabbatical, I was now in imposter world because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to fund it. I didn't know how to make it happen. And, in corporate world, like I'm an executive coach with a coaching firm of 60 coaches, it's like, how am I going to do that? And I remember calling my CEO and being like, hey, I want to do this thing. And he's, and I thought he was going to be like, absolutely not. And thank God he was like, yes, which is awesome, right? But I felt like an imposter because I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. You can't just do that. And so much of the breadcrumbs of our life of what we really want to do come on the other side of, you're not supposed to be allowed to do it that way. But most times when we keep doing that, we find our way to the greatest aliveness we've ever wanted. So the idea with imposter syndrome, we've all probably felt it, is that it's your own perspective, right? It's my perspective, and then it's also the assumption that everybody else has it figured out, okay? How many of you are honest, you realized in the last few months, with something in your life, I don't have it all figured out? Yeah, okay? So the idea is, like, welcome to the club. None of us have it figured out. I coach pro athletes, Fortune 500 CEOs, and all kinds of people. And I can tell you, they don't have it figured out. Tom Brady does not have it figured out. Michael Jordan does not have it figured out. Because there is, right? Because, here's the thing, if I was coaching Tom Brady, I'm not, I would figure out where Tom Brady's fence is. I'm really curious. Because, you guys, what, 45? What are we laughing about over here? And I know he's cute, but that's great. Okay, right? So, like, but he's like 45. He's got the world in his hand, and I really wonder where his fence is. I'm really curious about that. Because I would want to push him into being an imposter again. And I almost would, again, I don't know anything about the guy. He's probably like crushing it, whatever. So like I'm just picking a person that's really successful, right? But a person that's really successful, what I wonder is, where are they just riding the coattails of their success, and where are they actually stretching their fence? Because a lot of times people get so successful, they stop stretching their fence, and that's when they start to die. Okay? Does that help, Morgan? Okay. One more. I want to talk with one more person, then we have to wrap it up. Tyler. What's up? What do you want?
So my founding theme that I had probably accumulated over like a good year.
Yeah.
Working on a tech startup, and then last July had a firm date. I had one technical co-founder from the beginning, and then I kind of brought in somebody from sales, and then another technical co-founder. And we were working as a team, going through operating agreements, and everything was good to go. And then we were about to make our first 2 sales. I told the guys, like, hey, we got to have the product done by this date. I'm giving a tour so I can book through the product.
Yeah.
And this is like the 5th time that they fell short. And so I had a serious talk with the founder, or the other, my co-founder, and basically we decided to split ways. And I've been, so what you said previously about doing it alone, it is so lonely. But also, like, I'm pretty confident, no, actually I'm 100% confident I could bring it across the finish line myself. But also, I know I need a community to do this. And I have people lined up once I get the MVP, so I guess my threshold is like figuring out what the right move is.
So the block is what?
The block is whether it's right to continue pushing and getting the MVP
Yeah.
myself, or doing kind of what you said, where hey, you need a community, and kind of putting some of my energy on that to try to. But in my mind, my rationale is like that would set me back a few months because it would take time to build trust with somebody.
Sure, and it might, right? And this is I'm going to do just a minute or two on this, and then we're going to wrap, and then we can chat more afterwards or whatever it is. So like where I would go with it is for me there's a lie baked underneath of that, right? How many of you like have been indecisive about something in the last 6 months, right? Okay, everything, great, okay. So, and I'm a recovering indecisive person as well. Sometimes I can't decide. My parents live up in Brighton. There's sometimes I can't decide if I'm going to go out for dinner or not. And I'm like, and I'll be like, okay, if I go out for dinner, this is what the night's going to look like. And if I don't, I get to like stay home and watch hockey and, whatever it is. And I go back and forth and back and forth. So I'm with you. So there's a lie baked underneath indecision. What's the lie underneath indecision? Most times. Yeah. Most times because it's the belief that I'm not actually trusting, like let's call it God. I'm not trusting God with whatever decision I make. Right? Now I'm not talking about like go do something completely stupid. I'm talking about 2 good decisions. Go to dinner with the parents, don't go to dinner with the parents, whatever, go at it alone or find investors or community, right? And at some point you just got to make a decision. And then you've got to trust that whatever that decision is the path for you, because that is the path you're on at that point once you make that decision. You with me? Right? So notice, so that's what I, hope to like plant the seed in is like we start to kind of wind down for today is this idea that, you have this big desire, you notice what blocks come up, and usually the blocks show up in terms of a lie that you don't realize you're believing about something, that imposter syndrome is a bad thing. I think it's the best thing ever. When a client feels like they're an imposter, I'm like, yes. Like that's, now we're cooking. Because now we're outside of what their like known territory of their world is. And that's where I want people. Because that's where the most fun is had, by the way. Okay? So, I want to hand it back to Benji. I wanted to have more time for you to like write down like commitments. So all I want you to do in like the next 30 seconds is I want you to write down a tiny, tiny step so I can get us out of here on time. Write down the smallest, tiniest step ever for one of the things that you really want to happen. Just write down what's a tiny step. It might be texting somebody, calling somebody. It might be, I don't know what else. Like, usually it's going to be something like that. It's going to be asking somebody for a favor. Okay? But I do want you to walk out of here with some sort of tangible action step. And my hope is that you'll actually take these cards with you and like put them on your desk. Don't put them in the trash. That's why we didn't give you journals, because I know like every conference you go to, you get like some sort of handout and it goes right in the trash or the bottom of your file cabinet. So I hope you'll leave these on your desk and work with these. That's why we gave you these little cards. Okay? So with that, I'll hand it back to Benji. Thank you all for being with me tonight. This is so fun. I love this, and I hope it changes your year.